Hello children, hope you all are keeping well and taking adequate care of yourself and your dear ones. Before we start with the lesson, I would like to tell you that today we will have a short story from your textbook e-course, right? And before I tell you the name of the story, let us just take a glance of the quote that flashes on your screen, which says, "I am a writer first and a woman after," by Catherine Mansfield. Okay? Who gives importance to her work, and that's exactly what I want. During this period of time that we are undergoing, it is very, very important for each one of us to pay a great attention to the work that we should be committed to. So pay attention to all your teachers who are now and then uploading your lessons, and take a good care of it and be prepared for the forthcoming examinations. Okay? And moving on to the story that we are going to read today is The Singing Lesson by Catherine Mansfield from the collection of The Garden Party, which consists of 15 stories, short stories composed by her. Okay, a quick glance about the author. She was born in the year 1888, 14th October, 9th Jan 1923 was the day she died, very young at the age of 34 from tuberculosis. Basically, she had an origin from New Zealand, settled in UK, a modernist short story writer. Okay, she was the one who brought a great revolution in the 20th century on writing English short stories. Her writing is a part of modernist tradition. Okay, and it's categorized by its economical use of language, symbolism, and sharp psychological insight. All her stories would reflect this very clearly. Okay, there have been film featured on her. If you like, you can watch them. There are a few that I have named here. Okay, taking a quick glance on the setting of the story. The story is in an academic atmosphere. It begins in the corridor of the school leading towards the music hall. The main character of the story is Miss Meadow, who is entrapped in the female environment. She has a rival, the science mistress. She is undergoing a heartbroken pain due to the refusal of her fiancé getting married to her, which leads to her to think to give up the job so that she can avoid people like the science mistress. It's an autumn morning, but it's very cold like any winter. The location of the story happens to be United Kingdom, or the province of United Kingdom, and this is concluded from the faculty hierarchy used in the story as well as the forms and grades of the classes used in the story. A quick glance of the significance of the setting. It says cold corridors, line taken from the story. Now corridors are like labyrinth. Okay, labyrinth means a difficult manner to find one's way, as if we are lost in a prison, completely confused as Miss Meadow is, bitter, she's lonely, she's unloved. Okay, so her condition is almost like the school corridors. And in literature, corridors and paths are used generally to indicate a way to heaven or hell, way to success or failure, or ups and downs in life. The music hall in the story represents music of life. Social restriction on female represents the restriction that they make the female, and for which the lady is so confused and heartbroken. Okay, rejection from the engagement that scares her to face the society. Okay, that is how the social restriction affects on people, the females of the time. Okay, she does not want to undergo the criticism of the society. So to avoid this, she wants to quit the job. Okay, a quick glance on the points that the story covers. One is, or highlights, is the human psychology and behavior. Second is the frustrated feminine aspirations, suppressed self, injured love, and loneliness. The story has a simple plot but a concealed complex insight. Okay, you need to understand this complex insight. Then we have a letter from the fiancé ending up the relationship saying, just I'm not a marrying man. He writes disgust, scratches it out and writes regret. Both are quite meaningful and hurting. Heartbroken, deep in pain, and that makes the effect reflected in the music room. Okay, and when they are singing a mournful lament, the reaction of the girls is quite common. Receiving a telegram from a fiancé changes her mood completely, and then automatically from a lament to a smiley, happy song. This all psychological impact and behavior reflects what? Thought and emotion disrupts her teaching and reflects the environment and people around her. Okay, so it's a common aspect, happens to everyone. Now the character in the story, the two main characters are Miss Meadow, the music teacher, Basil, her fiancé. Mary happens to be one of a loved student who every time on a regular basis used to welcome her teacher with the yellow chrysanthemum. Okay, and whenever she was offered with the yellow chrysanthemum, she used to take it and tuck it in her belt. The rivalry she had, or the society reflected, representing the society, is the science mistress in the story. Okay, and the dutiful towards their duty is reflected by the headmistress. Right? Taking a quick glance on the story begins in the corridor of the school. Right? The teacher is quite heartbroken and depressed because of the letter she has received from her fiancé, and moving towards the corridor. Okay, she feels as if a wicked knife has buried deep into her heart and she's bleeding to death. That's the reaction or pain undergone. And that makes her ignore the flower presented to her by Mary, the beautiful yellow chrysanthemum that she always had offered her. Okay, and the teacher never even does not hesitate to hide her sullen mood from the students, even though she is aware that the children are going to whisper and make fun, saying that she is in wax, she is in a bad mood. Okay, still very in an icy voice, she tells them to open the page 14, which happens to have a lament. Okay, and why the lament? Because she is in a mournful mood. She is not happy, so she cannot sing anything which is other than a lament. Okay, and this clearly represents, the class, which was when she entered the class, there was a smile, there was a glee, there was a noise that start quickly fading. Okay, it started fading the pleasure of the girls, just like the spring converting to an autumn and autumn to a winter. Spring is a blooming season, autumn withering of leaves, and winter covering the trees with snow. Okay, so you can see the nature teaching you how mood affects. A lament becomes a poignant expression of a suffering, right? Clearly reflects her suffering, and this, while singing, she recalls the joyful experience she had with her fiancé, and one among them is the visit to the headmistress for dinner, and there when she spoke about her music lessons, right, that gave her pleasure. But the moment she remembers the letter mentioning that he is not a marrying man, that fills her with mourn, sadness, and automatically the lament becomes a tragic. Okay, and every note becomes a sob, a groan, and awful mournfulness. Okay, and this is because she is trying to search for the reason of rejection. Okay, and the thought not being together anymore, when she was not able to balance herself, that makes the song sound filled with her emotions. Okay, and when she is singing, pouring out her emotions, and the girls are singing without any clue of it, the older girls, the girls of the 6th form, have turned crimson, and the younger girls of form 4 and 5 have begun to cry, and gradually the voice began to die, to fade, to whisper, and to vanish. Okay, and Later, while the song is going on, a girl walks in, Monica, and tells the headmistress has called Miss Meadow, and warning the girls, giving instruction to the girls in the music room, she marches to the headmistress room. Okay, and there she's been given a telegram by the headmistress, thinking that it's a bad news. Okay, and taking the telegram, even Miss Meadow thought might be her fiancé has done some harm to himself of writing that letter and refusing to marry her. Okay, instead, when she opens and reads the telegram, Miss Meadow was happy. She was smiling. Okay, and what was the telegram? It was again from her fiancé, apologizing, saying that pay no attention to the letter, must have been mad. Imagine how insensitive. Clear? Just to write disgust, scratch and write regret, and to say I'm not a marrying man, and now writing one telegram across with few words and saying that not to pay attention. It was in a bad mood. Okay, he wrote it, and she has to ignore it. Imagine looking at the happiness or reaction of Miss Meadow. The headmistress happened to ask, is everything fine? Is everything good? And she said, Miss Meadow replied back, nothing to worry, it's just a telegram from a fiancé. And looking at that smile, the headmistress concluded what would the letter be consisting. She thought it would be a love letter to her, which gives her blush. Okay, so she warns her, reminds her of the rule of the school, that teachers are not expected to get telegrams in the school hours unless in case of a bad news, urgency, emergency. Okay, as good news could always wait. Okay, these kind of letters from fiancé and all, they can always wait and dealt after the school time. Okay, now the best part out here is if you compare, she was in a very bad mood, and just the letter of his with an apology converts her so much that she has no reaction for the criticism made by the headmistress. Okay, nothing does she feel about it. She just rushes out of the place with all excitement and happiness, completely transformed in mood. Reaching the music hall, immediately selects the happy song on page number 32 and is asking the girls to sing it with full expression of joy and cheer. Okay, and now you can hear her voice, the teacher's voice, far louder than the rest and glowing with expressions. Okay, now what does it reflect? The teacher's mood and thought affect her behavior and makes a huge impact on those around her. Okay, her mood, her thought, okay, affected her behavior, and that has a great impact on her surrounding. Okay, so people around us reflect our own thoughts and feelings. These girls were singing happy song because she was happy. Okay, they were singing a lament because she was sad. The way she reflected, they reacted. Okay, so next time when someone reacts to you, just think, what have you done for them to react in that order? What is the theme of the story? Appearance and reality. The music teacher in all-girls school physically appears to be amicable, but basically she is mentally disturbed and worried. Okay, so appearance is this, amicable, reality is she is disturbed and worried. Despair and dejection, she was absolutely in a mournful state because of the rejection by her fiancé. Okay, to an extent that she didn't even acknowledge the small little girl with the flower. The title of the story is a music lesson. The singing lesson, obviously it is music, and we see the two songs play a vital role in the story, reflecting the real impact of the story with the music that creates the moods, okay, that reflects the mood of the teacher. Reliance and appearance, you can see she completely relies on her fiancé, okay, who just through his letter, sometimes says, I'm not a marrying man, and sometimes says, ignore it. And that changes her complete world. Okay? And why is this? Because of the social circumstances. Now, if you get to write a critical analysis of the story, or if we have to analyze the story critically, begin it in this order. Okay, mention about the title, it's apt and suggestive. Music displays the mood of the teacher who when rejected sings and makes the class sing a lament, and when she is in a good mood, okay, she starts singing a song of joy and happiness. The four themes of the story we have spoken, and any one of them, the way you get quoting the lines, explain them. Language and style of the story is simple, right? We have already said in the beginning, style is simple but has a complex insight. Uses eye-catching expression with symbolic elements, okay, in the story, reflecting the social hypocrisy against women. Okay, the characterization you find the middle class people with complex personality, the teacher as well as the fiancée, the science mistress and the headmistress, all are from the middle class society. Okay, and they reflect their attitude accordingly. And the author rightfully uses the literary devices like symbol, irony and imaginary to bring out the complex character. Okay, she uses the example of plants, flowers, colors to represent the mood, and to represent thought and emotion she uses the main character like Miss Meadow and Basil. Okay, so symbolizing them, she is bringing out the actual quality of these people. Okay, setting, as we said, it's a school. Okay, the music hall, the science mistress, and so on. The story begins in the note of despair and finally ends with a happy note, and it is despair because of rejection, happy due to apology. Okay, the message conveyed here is every individual thoughts and feeling has a great influence on the behavior and action. Okay, makes an impact on everything and everyone around oneself. Okay, so one need to understand this. Now, symbols used in the story is the yellow chrysanthemum, okay, which when in a regular base used, received by the teacher, reflects love of life. In an awful mood, when she ignores it, symbolizes loneliness, sorrow in her life. And later, after receiving the telegram, when she comes and takes the flower, again presses it between her lips, shows the return of joy and happiness into her life. Music symbolizes the mood swings of the teacher. Okay, the emotions that sounds lifeless in the beginning when she's singing a lament. Okay, and later when she sings a happy song, reflects the joy, the return of joy and happiness in her life. A willow tree reflects, okay, a withered willow tree outside her window symbolizes the less chance of getting married, and that disturbs her the most, why she wants to give away the job and run away from the society. Miss Meadow is again a symbol. The word meadows means field or green land, but here if you see her life is completely barren. Okay, it does not have much to enjoy. The second character, Basil, the mythological meaning of the word is compared to basilic, which is the name of a snake and a cannon of ancient times used in the war. The snake can kill somebody with using his breath, stare and physical contact, whereas the cannon fired will obviously destroy. So in both the cases, they are destructive. Baton is used to show the authority. 2 taps on the piano and the class is silent. All the bubbling faces of the girls turn to silence. Okay, lament, the music. Okay, first part is a lament that is sung to reflect the inner turmoil undergone by the Miss Meadow, the music teacher, and the second song reflects the joy in her life. The other literary devices used in the story is irony and contrast. Irony, we know how the headmistress allows to receive the telegram, okay, and then Basil's telegram brings back Meadow's life of happiness. Now, why is it an irony? Because even though she is happy, she knows that he does not love her. Okay, he has already cleared it. He does not. That's why he says, I'm not a marrying man. Okay, it could be, life would be discussed. He would regret the wedding. Okay, so there is no love. There is no commitment of love here. Still, she is happy that she is getting married. At least she will not hear criticism from the society that she is single, she is not married, she is overaged, and so on. There are lines of contrast here. When Miss Meadow is trotting in the cold corridor, the girls hurried, skipped, and fluttered by. Okay, they are happy in their own moods and swinging. When she is completely cold in despair, the girls are bubbling over with glee and excitement. When one side, Miss Meadow, okay, is despair and gloom, the science mistress, with her insincerity and artificiality, is trying to comment on her. Here are a few quoted lines from the story which you can use it for your answers, which can be of great help to you to express and make your answers more effective and attractive. Moving on to the next part of it, we'll discuss some questions here. I've taken 3 questions here. One is based on the character. One says the author's unique talent of realistically capturing the moment of life. We can see the moment when she's rejected of the engagement. How is the whole surrounding and what all thought processes running into her mind, and she's upset with all that. And according to you, can the ending of the story be different? One way it has ended, do you think it can be different, or is this ending convincing? I think the ending is far better convincing because it shows a contrast. And when it shows a contrast, we are able to understand the psychological mood swings and the different state of mind. If it had been in the same order, I think it would have been difficult to understand. We'll take the character in a little detailed stage. Okay. Now, this man does not appear practically in the story at all, other than his 2 papers, one in form of a letter, the other in form of a telegram, and that is able to affect the mood and life of Miss Meadow completely. He is basically a fickle and insensitive person, does not value emotion, as it clearly reflects in the words that he has used to write the letter or the telegram. But even then, even though she knows he does not love her, still he happens to be her lifeline. Okay, the idea is she does not want to remain single, she just wants to get married to avoid the criticism of the society. So it's not a reason to get married. Okay, these are not the reasons people get married. Okay, the next part is he sounds to be quite abnormal when he writes and he speaks to his fiancée. Okay, in one way it can be abnormal because he is not a person who can enjoy marital bliss, because he says, I love you as I would love any other woman. Now, the person you're going to marry and the other people wouldn't be the same. She has to be special in your life, and if she's special in your life, only then you can enjoy a companion. Okay, the broader example, you can see your parents at home. Okay, so for your parents, they are important to them other than the other men and women in the society. Okay, and that is why there is a commitment, and that is why there is a full passion of love between them. Okay, so they enjoy the marital bliss, whereas he does not sound to be. Okay, he's impulsive and selfish, he lacks maturity and does not understand what true love is. If it had been, he would not have written letters like that to hurt her, okay, shake her of her emotions. Rather, he reflects actually to be a snake and cannon who knows only to harm and destroy. Right there. Thank you so much. I hope you have understood the lesson as much as I think you would have got the content and an effective way to understand the lesson, I would request you to read every word of your text, and if there is something that you would like to ask, please feel free to call or text me. Okay, I'm all time available for you. Thank you, and have a nice day. This is Kajal who's signing out. Thank you so much. Have a great time, have a great day, and do good to yourself and your people around.